Thanks so much for being with us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I'm Joy Lim-Nackerin, joined today by our guest legal analyst, attorney Suri Chata Jimenez. Thanks so much for being with us, Suri.
Hey, thank you.
So the reason that I brought in Suri today is, we've been covering the ongoing protests at Emory University. Most recently, there were arrests 2 weeks ago. And Suri, you're representing three of the protesters who were actually arrested. But what's happening right now is students are voting on whether or not they have confidence in the Emory University president. I'm forgetting his first name. Gregory Van Vez is his first name, Gregory. But he essentially, they have until 3 p.m. today to cast those votes, so a little less than an hour and a half at this point. Do you have any opinions on how that might go? What's the vote going to turn out to be?
Well, most likely you go along the lines of what the faculty vote were. I do believe that the majority of the faculty voted saying that they have no confidence. It's probably going to be something similar. Obviously, there's students that applaud his actions, and there's students that are terrified about the way that other students were treated, and there's people in the middle that are just going to abstain from voting. But I think the people that will engage will probably break down at the same level, mostly the majority saying that they do not approve. Now, let's remember, this is not legally binding. This is just a vote of no confidence. Then the board will decide whether or not he gets to stay in his position. But obviously, it is good to have the input of faculty and students so that the Board of Trustees can make an informed decision.
Yeah, it is important to point out that the Board of Trustees, ultimately, they have the legal authority to make this decision, not the students. But like you said, it's important feedback. They want to know where the students stand on everything. Do you have confidence in the president?
I mean, technically, I'm an alum from the Emory. I went to Oxford, so I am part of the community. I don't know much about him personally. I was abhorred by the way that the students were treated. Even if the intel he had, apparently the excuses they were given was that they thought it was outside agitators, that this was an outside movement by a bunch of people that had nothing to do with Emory. And that was wrong, as we have seen, because 20 of the 28 people were students or faculty. So most of them were active members of the community. But even if they weren't, inviting these outside agitators, these violent thugs to come in and start beating up protesters, that is horrible. That should never happen. I mean, May 4th the holiday just went by when Kent University. I mean, we remember that. Or maybe we don't, because the schools just don't teach about this. Students have been killed before by law enforcement. You shouldn't bring in a bunch of people that are just ready to fight and armed with guns, or even if it's less than lethal force, to hurt your students. The people that are protesting, if they're not being violent, they might be annoying, they might get in your way, they might make your beautiful quad not look so pretty, but you don't respond with violence. And Georgia State Patrol and other outside agitators like that go there to start violence. So let's not invite them. How about that?
All right. So obviously you have very strong opinions, and you represent three defendants who were protesting. I just want to, give that context because of the way you're talking about Georgia State Patrol. But
I just like it. I really like how they can be calm and they can be orderly when the protesters are the KKK. When the KKK is marching through Stone Mountain, Georgia State Patrol is there, but ain't nobody getting pushed and shoved, even though they're screaming horrible, horrible things that they have every right to say. The KKK has every right to say despicable things because they are protected by the First Amendment. And when Georgia State Patrol shows up to that, and they just escort them and they let them go through, and they protect them from counter-protest. Why can't GSP act like that when we're talking about students protesting genocide? They have the ability to do it. Or maybe they just disagree with the message, so they get out their guns.
Wow, it's an interesting point. And I want to ask you a little bit about the defendants that you're representing, because they include a student and an alum. Your three defendants.
Correct.
Tell me about them.
They're amazing people. They're just very successful. Emory University, I think, ranked 25 in the nation, one of the most prestigious universities, the Harvard of the South. And it is expensive to go there, so it is quite a commitment. One of my clients, the one's a current student, she's there on a scholarship, double major. She's about to graduate with I believe, a religious studies and creative writing, and she's going to be walking on Monday. Very proud. Her entire family is coming from South Georgia. So it's a huge moment for her. And she also has very strong opinions. And she stands up for what she believes in, and she has every right to do that. My other client is an alum with a great job, and right now her main concern is I can't even apply to another postgraduate degree, or I can't apply to different jobs because I have this thing hanging over me, and they ask about current criminal charges, which is horrible. Of course, her life is in limbo while the Solicitor General or the DA's office or the Attorney General decides what to do with these people that were just exercising their First Amendment. Let's remember that they claim that they invited these thugs to break up a violent protest. I have not seen one video where any protesters, whether my clients or anybody else, was being violent. The only people that were doing violence were Georgia State Patrol officers.
Wow. So what's next with your clients? You said that the charges are pending, or?
Yep, everybody is out on bond.
Okay.
The university, and I'm very grateful for this, came up to the bond hearing and let the court know that they didn't want any restrictions on current students. So they didn't want to kick them off campus or not allow them to go to school or graduation. They wanted to take all restrictions off. People that are not active students do have restrictions. They're not allowed on Emory property. Emory property, being a private university, has every right to tell anybody they want to not come on their property. So they're exercising that right. But all of my clients, and I think all of the other people that were arrested a couple of weeks ago, are out on bond and have pending criminal charges, even if it's as little as trespassing, which, let's remember, you're a current student in the university you pay over $60,000 a year to go to, and they tell you you're trespassing for being on your own quad. But even though that crime is one of the least serious crimes, I think disorderly conduct or maybe jaywalking is the other ones that are less serious, they are still crimes. They're misdemeanors. If it stays at this level, they're still facing up to 12 months in jail or a $1,000 fine. So their liberty is at stake, their liberty is in jeopardy, and they're going through terrible anxiety. Their life is on hold. Imagine being a new graduate and you're about to start applying for jobs. You want to start your career, and then you get to that question, the application. Do you have any criminal record? Have you ever been arrested? Do you have any convictions? And they're going to have to answer, yes, I've been arrested. Yes, I have pending criminal charges. Or they're just going to have to wait out and not apply for any jobs until these cases go away. Because our goal is for these charges to be completely dismissed, or we will fight them and we will go to trial, and a jury will decide whether or not they're guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
So I follow you. You know, we're friends outside of outside of this, outside of work, and I follow you on social media. I see some of what you post, and you posted something that I think resonated with me, which was your concern systemically about how punishing students with criminal charges might affect, I guess, the culture and the next generation. What do you mean specifically?
Absolutely. I think what I said, I reposted something along the lines of the stigma of being arrested and charged for this. For some older generations, they might think it's negative, but the reality is that the culture is changing. People are a little more, I guess some people like to call it woke. People are more aware of abuses by the government. So I think the next generation will actually look up at these young people that have been protesting. They will give them more opportunities, and they will shun those that stand against free speech and stand against the ending of genocide. These kids, the only thing they're asking for, it's simple. They're asking their universities divest from investments that are making the war happen. They're simply saying, please stop profiting out of the murder of children. They're not saying Hamas is good. They're not saying death to Israel. What they are saying is, please just don't make money out of people dying. And is that too much to ask? I mean, they're just saying divest. Have a conversation with us. Let's look at your portfolio, and you can make money off of whatever you want except bombs. That's not too much to ask, I don't think. There's some people that are asking for a little more extreme stuff on both sides. There's people that want every single Palestinian dead, and they're free to voice those opinions. But the students are just saying, please don't do it with our money. That's our tuition money. That's our donations that we make as alums. Please don't profit from war. That's all they're asking for.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Attorney Suri Chata Jimenez, joining us with your insight and analysis. Real quick before we let you go, what sort of cases are you looking to take, and how do people reach you?
I do criminal defense, so anybody that's facing criminal charges where the government is trying to oppress you, please feel free to call me. You can look me up. Just Google me. I'll come up.
All right, thank you so much, Suri. And for our viewers, of course, we're going to follow the latest on this. You can get it, of course, here we're streaming, but also if you want to download our free Atlanta News First app, you'll get updates sent right to your phone. Thank you so much for joining us.